Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the world. My name is Zach Jones, although a lot of you probably already know who I am. Welcome back to my channel, but if you're new to my channel, then welcome. Today, I'm going to talk about 10 big cats of the world, and I'm going to be talking about cats from Asia, Africa, and South America. I'm going to start with Africa, and I'm going to start with the legend that is the African lion. Now, of course, the African lion was first depicted in cave drawings dating back more than 15,000 years, and of course, throughout history, the lion's a muscular body, beautiful mane, and of course, its deafening roar have inspired people for centuries, like from Richard the Lionheart, who was the King of England who led the Crusade in the 1190s, the story of the Lion King, and also Godric Gryffindor, or of Hogwarts, having his Hogwarts coat of arms a lion. It shows that the lion embodies courage, valour, and savage grace. This is the second largest of the big cats, and a fully grown male lion can be just about 3 meters long, weigh as much as 3 adult men, and has canine teeth that are about as long as my thumb, and also a bite force of 600 pounds per square inch, so 6 times as stronger than a human's. And the African lion lives, as its name suggests, in Africa. In fact, it roams the sub-Sahara desert as well as parts of western, eastern and southern Africa. And incredibly, it's actually the only big cat to live in large groups called prides. And they can be made up of usually about 30 animals. And of course, it usually contains several related males, 8 to 10 adult females and their young, but there is always one dominant male. And of course, prides are extremely united, with very little fighting, even among the males. Of course, outsiders are never admitted into prides, and lions that are separated from their prides, unfortunately, will either die from starvation or attacks by other prides. Of course, people always have this idea that male lions are lazy, that it's the females that do all the work, when that is actually very unfair and actually not true. Because male lions do have a part to play, because especially if one is the leader of the pride, because if you see the leader of a pride up close, then he's usually covered in scars and scabs, and his canine teeth, well, the tips of his canines are chipped away after taking a beating from what is a rough life. Because when you're the leader of a pride, it's your job to maintain order, protect your family, and fight off other males. Of course, when two male lions fight, it can be brutal. And of course, the leader of the pride will have the most to lose, not only his territory and control of the pride, but possibly his own life. And of course, when I said about females, because the reason why they do 90% of the hunting is mainly down to the fact that the male lion's bulkier body and large mane are easy giveaways to prey. Lions are opportunistic, and they will hunt anything. In fact, while a lone lion can sometimes be a successful hunter of small game like warthogs, the whole pride working together are able to bring down much larger prey. Of course, lions feed on anything. In fact, their main prey is usually warthog, antelope, zebras, wildebeest, Cape buffalo, and they will even take on elephants, which is absolutely incredible because across Africa, lions have been seen hunting elephants, and that is incredible because the African elephant is the largest land mammal, and when I say the largest, I mean a fully grown male can be well over 3 meters high and weigh more than 6 tons. But, incredible as it is, African lions don't usually hunt elephants, but when there's not much prey around, they will risk hunting elephants. In fact, it's usually calves that they go for, but if it's a juvenile elephant that's just coming into adulthood, they might be able to bring it down. But probably the most dangerous prey that lions regularly hunt is Cape buffalo, because they are one of Africa's most dangerous creatures. They're big, they're bulky, they have formidable horns, and they have very thick hide, and also a very short temper. And if you think I'm exaggerating when I say that buffalo have been known to kill lions, there is actually a video of a female buffalo actually headbutting a lioness right into the air to get her off her calf. Of course, how lions hunt is because they work together. The lionesses will work together to take down prey, and what they do is they will fan out around their prey to block off any escape routes, and then they will creep quietly and slowly through tall grass towards their prey, and then they will charge, because lions can reach 50 miles per hour when they're in a heated pursuit, but they are not built for long chases, so they need to catch their prey quickly. Of course, they usually go for an individual that is young, old, weak, injured or sick, and the lion's goal is to basically just jump on its prey's back and tackle it to the floor, and then the lion will go for the throat and suffocate its prey. And of course, also, when I said about them being able to take down elephants and Cape buffalo, in fact, when they do hunt buffalo, the males will usually help, as they are powerful enough to help bring down the buffalo. And of course, once they've made a kill, the whole pride then gather around to feed. Of course, they all eat their fair share of meat. The males eat first, followed by the lionesses, and quite often young cubs that are usually about 8 to 10 weeks old, because that's usually the first time their mothers take them to a kill. And they will usually finish the remains. And of course, the lions will leave nothing uneaten, no food behind. They even lick the bones clean. In fact, tiny backwards pointing hooks on their tongues will get every morsel of meat off the bone. Of course, the whole pride needs to make sure that everyone has enough energy to hunt again. And in fact, a single lion can actually consume 110 pounds of meat at a single sitting, so that's half my body weight in one go, and that will satisfy the hunger for a few days. I know a lot of people, when they go to see lions in Africa, just think that they're just being lazy, just yawning in the shade, but that's actually mainly down to the fact that where they live in the savannah, it tends to be very, very hot. And so what they do when they're just lazing around in the shade is they're trying to wait for nightfall where it's cooler and where they can actually hunt a little bit easier. And of course, lions, like all members of the cat family, have a reflective layer of cells at the back of their eyes called the tapetum lucida, which absorbs any available light, and in fact it actually gives lions sort of eyesight that's more than 6 times more powerful than ours, especially at night time. As you can probably see here, there is a white lion, but that's actually not a separate species. That's actually a genetic disorder in the southern white lion. In fact, it's only ever been recorded in South Africa, and it's where one lion will lack the pigment so that gives it colour, and it will be white. And probably the most famous example I know of a white lion is the Butterfly Lion by Michael Morpurgo, about a young boy named Bertie who's raised on a ranch in South Africa, and he rescues an orphaned lion cub, which is white, but when Bertie has to go off to boarding school in England, the lion is sold by his father to a French circus ringmaster. But they do find each other eventually, but I could talk about that for ages. But anyway, white lions are very, very rare in the wild. It usually only happens once or twice in a generation. And in fact, they're actually known as the White King of the Beasts. And there's many, many legends about the white lions, such as they're a messenger of God and that they bring peace and prosperity, but that actually became a curse for the white lions because they were nearly hunted to extinction for their fur, but also for their cubs to be sold to circuses, disreputable zoos, or even to a rich man's private collection. That has since been stopped, and there are white lions in the wild today. Of course, they are all in a protected reserve in South Africa where they're all monitored and looked after. There are white lions in captivity, but unfortunately a lot of them are victims of inbreeding, which causes many genetic disorders. Another thing about lions is, of course, when I said about them being opportunistic, of course, when wildlife is unavailable, they often kill livestock, and that brings them into conflict with humans like ranchers and farmers who see them as a pest to be exterminated and illegally shoot, poison or trap them, which is against the law, but it still happens. But quite often, whenever ranchers do that, it quite often leads lions to retaliate by basically killing them. And of course, lions have been known to be man-eaters. In fact, more than 50 people to about over 100 people each year in Africa are killed by lions. That's quite often if lions are either incredibly hungry, if they're provoked, or quite often if people are just being incredibly stupid. Of course, the African lion is not an endangered species just yet. I mean, they are considered a vulnerable species and closely monitored, but there are thousands of them still in the wilds of Africa. And of course, they are, to me, probably the most magnificent big cats. And I've loved lions ever since I was a little kid. And I've seen them in captivity, but I've never seen them in the wild before. I hope to one day. Of course, this is the range of the lions. In fact, here is the African lions range, well, historic and current. Of course, around here was the range of the Barbary lion before they went extinct in the wild, but also around here is the historic range of the Asiatic lion. Of Of course, the Asiatic lion is currently only found there, but I will get to them later.